Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. She locked the bedroom door on me, not during a fight, not during an argument, just a regular Tuesday night. I came back from brushing my teeth and the door was shut. Click. Locked from the inside. No warning, no explanation. And when I knocked, confused like some guest in my own house, her voice came through the wood. I just need space. Don't take it personally. I didn't yell. I didn't demand anything. I just stared at the doorknob, toothbrush still in my hand, and realized I wasn't her husband anymore. I was just a disturbance. I spent the night on the couch again. No blanket, no kiss goodnight, not even a glance. The dog, who isn't even allowed on the furniture, curled up next to me like he knew I needed it. My wife, she slept just fine, apparently. The next morning, she made coffee for herself. I asked very calmly, "Is something wrong?" She sipped and said, "Howard, you're too emotional. I'm not your therapist. I don't owe you intimacy. Get that through your head." Right there in our kitchen, with sunlight hitting the counter like nothing was broken. That phrase, "I don't owe you intimacy," it sank in like acid. She didn't yell it. She meant it. She said it like a line rehearsed from some self-help podcast. I didn't respond. I just nodded. But inside, I shattered. Because for years, I thought if I just worked harder, fixed the leaky faucet faster, bought the right groceries, said, "I love you" more often, she'd notice, she'd come back to me. But no, she had already left. Her body was in the house, but her soul had checked out months ago. And now she was blaming me for wanting connection. So I did what any emotionally drained, sleep-deprived walking doormat would do. I smiled. And then I spent the next 72 hours showing her what life looks like when I stop owing her my attention, my comfort, my kindness, or my loyalty. No shouting, no big speech, just quiet withdrawal. But here's the thing about silence. It gets loud when someone's not used to hearing it. And the moment she started noticing my absence, my real absence, she panicked. That's when secrets began slipping out. And trust me, what I found was worse than I imagined. Something shifted after that night. I wasn't sure if it was in her or in me. I started noticing things I'd ignored before. The way Delaney would step outside to take certain calls, how her smile, the one I hadn't seen directed at me in months, would flicker across her face when she was texting someone. I wasn't looking for signs. I wasn't trying to play detective. But when you're no longer included in someone's world, you start noticing who is. She started dressing nicer, really trying. Lipstick on a Tuesday, heels for a quick errand. And when I asked, all I got was, "I'm allowed to feel good about myself." Sure, but why now? Why all of a sudden, when she'd spent the last year telling me she was too tired to go anywhere with me? The real punch came a few days later. I came home from work and heard laughter. Deep, relaxed, flirty laughter. I followed the sound to the kitchen window and stopped. There she was on the phone, leaning against the counter, twirling a piece of her hair, smiling like the girl I used to know. But when she saw me through the window, her face hardened so fast, it made me dizzy. She ended the call without a word, walked past me and said, "Don't look at me like that." Like what? Like I noticed you were happy. Just not with me? I didn't say anything. I was tired of repeating the same cycle. Ask, get dismissed, walk away feeling small. I didn't want another lecture about how I was too emotional or clingy. That night, I turned off the alarm clock. Hers too. I let her be late for once. She stormed into the living room yelling, "Howard, why didn't you wake me?" I smiled. "You don't owe me intimacy. I don't owe you timekeeping." She blinked, and for the first time, she didn't know what to say. Something in her cracked. But I wasn't done, because I had just started paying attention, and what I was about to discover next would take everything to a whole new level. The next morning, something inside me clicked. Not in a triumphant way, but like a weak light bulb flickering on in a dark, moldy basement. I wasn't crazy, I wasn't dramatic. I was just stupidly, painfully late to a reality that had been slapping me across the face for months. Delaney didn't just stop loving me. She had started loving someone else. She wasn't distant because of work stress or exhaustion. She was already building a world where I didn't exist. Piece by piece, smile by stolen smile. And I found the first brick of that world in her car. She had taken mine that morning because hers needed gas. Normally, I wouldn't have checked, but I forgot my laptop in the passenger seat the night before. I opened the door, and the first thing I saw was a receipt. Nothing special, just a crumpled paper from a local wine bar. But the time on it, 11:48 p.m. That was the same night she told me she was staying late to help her sister pack for a move. And she never drinks wine. Ever. I sat there in the driver's seat, hands shaking, brain scrambling to play defense. Maybe she was with her sister and they went out after. Maybe it was nothing. But then I glanced down and saw it on the floor mat. A navy blue tie. Not mine. I haven't worn a tie since my cousin's wedding last year. My stomach turned. I picked it up like it was radioactive. It smelled faintly like cologne I didn't recognize. Warm, sharp, confident. Everything I wasn't. I didn't confront her that night. Not yet. Instead, I did something I never thought I'd do. I took the tie, I folded it neatly. I placed it on her pillow and I waited. She saw it, froze, blinked, then calmly picked it up and said, "Why are you putting junk on the bed?" That's when I realized something even worse than betrayal. She didn't respect me enough to lie properly anymore. She thought I was so weak, so spineless, that I'd just swallow it again. But I wasn't planning to cry this time. No, I was going to prepare for the impact. Because if this was war, I was done being the casualty. Confrontation would have felt good. Loud, explosive, theatrical. But that's what she expected. And frankly, I was tired of giving her reactions to feed off. Delaney thrived on chaos. If I had yelled that night, she'd spin it into me being unhinged again. If I cried, she'd mutter how I was too fragile for marriage. So I did something worse. I went quiet, but behind that silence, I began building. Not revenge, not yet, just clarity. I started logging everything. Calls she took in the garage, messages she typed with her back turned, receipts that magically vanished from her purse the moment she saw me notice them. I bought a cheap audio recorder, the kind they market to college students, and slipped it under the couch cushion, near where she always whispered at night. I'm not proud of it, but I needed confirmation that I wasn't crazy. And oh, I got it. 2 nights in, I hit play while sitting in my car. Her voice came through soft but unmistakable. "He still thinks I'm helping Margot with her divorce," she giggled. "Meanwhile, I'm the one having all the fun." Then a male voice, low, confident, said something muffled. Her response, "He's too emotional to leave. He'd probably write me a sad poem and make tea." I didn't feel rage. I felt cold. Not just at her words, but at how boringly predictable I had become in her eyes. That's what burned the most. That night she came home late again. Said Margot had another meltdown. I nodded, smiled, even asked if she wanted tea. She said no, scrolled through her phone with her feet on our table like it belonged to her alone. But inside, I was working on something. She didn't expect distance, not just emotional, but financial, legal, tactical. I wasn't going to play the victim anymore. She wanted to treat me like I was too soft to act? Good. Let her think that. Because what I was planning next would flip the entire balance of power. And when it landed, it would be quiet but permanent. Delaney was getting reckless, and I knew that meant she felt secure. That's what made it so easy to pull the next thread. The very next night, she told me she was going to a late yoga session with her friend Shelby. I nodded, even offered to warm up her car while she finished getting ready. She hesitated, then agreed, like I just passed some twisted loyalty test. But here's the thing. Shelby had texted me earlier that day, asking if I could help her fix her porch light next week. No mention of yoga, no plans with Delaney. So, I did what no emotionally fragile husband was supposed to do. I smiled, kissed Delaney on the cheek, and watched her drive off. Then I followed. I stayed far behind, took back roads when I could. She didn't head toward the gym or Shelby's neighborhood. Instead, she turned into a small private lot behind an apartment complex I didn't recognize. I parked across the street, engine off, lights down, and then I waited. 10 minutes later, a man I'd never seen before pulled up. Tall, athletic, beard trimmed like a guy who checked his reflection a little too long. She opened his passenger door like it was choreographed. He leaned over and kissed her. Just like that. No hesitation. I didn't take pictures. I didn't record video. I didn't need proof anymore. Not for her. I needed it for myself. To end the fantasy. To finally erase the hope that maybe she just needed space. Maybe it wasn't that bad. No, it was that bad. She had replaced me, emotionally, physically, completely, and didn't even think I was worth hiding it from. I drove home before they noticed. By the time she walked in, I was already on the couch, fake snoring like my life hadn't just collapsed 2 blocks away. She kissed me on the forehead and said, "Thanks for being so understanding." Understanding, that was her mistake. Because now I understood everything, and what I did next changed the entire script. After that night, something inside me shifted. I stopped waiting for her to return to me. That version of Delaney was gone, probably long before I noticed. What I had now was a stranger using my roof, my name, and my silence as a cover for her second life. And if she was going to keep living like I didn't exist, I decided to do the same, but smarter. I didn't blow up, didn't ask questions. In fact, I became the ideal husband. Polite, helpful, soft-spoken. I kissed her before bed, made her coffee in the morning, sent little check-in texts during the day. It made her comfortable. She started slipping even more. Passwords stayed saved. Schedules became loose. Excuses got lazy. She thought I was healing, but I was watching. One night, while she showered, I finally unlocked her tablet. She never logged out of anything there. Email, texts, location history, all open. What I found made my hands go cold. There were restaurant reservations I'd never heard of, hidden folders with hotel confirmations and photos, dozens of them. Posed like a couple, holding hands, her face glowing in ways I hadn't seen in years. And then something worse. She wasn't just cheating. She was mocking me in texts with him. Screenshots of my sad little dinner setups, my emotional talks, my attempts at affection, all followed by laughing emojis. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I started packing, not clothes, evidence, bank statements, tax forms, copies of receipts, asset documents. I moved half our money to a personal account I had opened years ago and never used. I met with a lawyer under a different name. I drafted a letter to my boss requesting a transfer to another city. I didn't want a scene. I wanted an escape. The best revenge isn't loud, it's absence. And mine was coming soon. She had her new life. She just didn't know she was about to lose her old one. I left on a Thursday, not with a bang, not with some dramatic speech. No note, no suitcase by the door, no slamming drawers. I just got up earlier than usual, turned off the alarm before it buzzed, grabbed the envelope I had hidden inside a cereal box, and walked out. Inside the envelope was everything. Divorce papers, signed and notarized, a photo of her and the guy from the parking lot, a copy of our bank transfers, and a message written in my handwriting, 3 words long. "You're free now." She wouldn't find it until much later, though. She had taken to sleeping in after her late yoga sessions. I knew she'd wake up assuming I'd be back soon, maybe even text me to pick up oat milk or eggs. It would take a few hours before she noticed the absence wasn't temporary. The closet slightly emptier, my keys missing, her login to the bank denied. I didn't go to work. I didn't go to a hotel. I went to a small cabin 2 towns over, one my uncle left behind before moving to Florida. Dusty, isolated, but with working plumbing and a lock on the door that didn't echo when it shut. I sat there for hours, not celebrating, not planning, just existing, letting the weight slide off in pieces. And then, my phone started buzzing. 10 missed calls, 12 messages. "Where are you, Howard? This isn't funny." I need to talk to you now. What did you do with the money? There it was. Not a single message about us. Just panic about control, about access, about consequences. By sundown, she had shown up at my sister's house demanding answers. My sister, who knew everything, handed her the envelope. She said Delaney stood in the driveway reading the letter over and over again, then just sat down on the porch like someone pulled the ground from under her. She hadn't expected me to have a final move. She thought I was all bark, no exit. But I wasn't barking anymore. I was gone, and she was finally hearing the silence I'd been living in for years. A week passed before she stopped trying to contact me. The calls turned into messages. The messages turned into silence. I guess once the money dried up and the excuses didn't work anymore, the fantasy she built with her affair partner crumbled under the weight of reality. My lawyer reached out a few days later. Turns out once she got the divorce papers, she tried to claim emotional abuse, said I was manipulative, distant, unstable. But she hadn't expected me to document everything. Screenshots, recordings, dates, receipts, all neatly filed and time-stamped. My lawyer said her face dropped when they presented the packet, like a magician caught planting the card in her sleeve. In the end, I kept the house, the savings, my name. She walked away with nothing but her story, and not even that held up. But here's where the story turns. 3 months after everything was finalized, I started hiking. I'd always said I wanted to explore the nature trails near my uncle's cabin, but never had the time. Now I had nothing but time and a quiet, peaceful place to rebuild. That's where I met Elle. She was walking her dog, struggling with a thermos lid, muttering to herself in frustration. I offered help, made her laugh, and before either of us realized it, we were talking like we had known each other for years. She wasn't flashy. She didn't play games. She asked questions and actually listened. We took things slow. No pressure, no pretending. Just two people figuring life out again. And for the first time in years, I felt like a man worth loving, not fixing. So if you're watching this and you're in the place I used to be, locked out of a room, a heart, a life, let this be proof that walking away isn't failure. It's freedom. It's the beginning of something that might just surprise you. You're watching Reddit Confessions. Have you ever reached a breaking point and found something better on the other side? Share the most surprising thing that happened after you walked away in the comments below. And remember, silence doesn't mean weakness. Sometimes it's the loudest move of all.